Good evening, everybody. So today I'm going to be talking about how women are discouraged from pursuing certain careers because of workplace inequality. So now the definition of equality is that everybody is treated the same, receives the same rights and opportunities as everyone else, no matter who they are. In the professional world, women's hard work fails to be properly recognized. They are paid less than men for the same job. And because of gender roles and stereotypes, women pursuing careers often leave that behind to stay at home and start a family. Now, off the top of your head, how many female scientists can you name? I myself, when I really think about it, can only name Marie Curie. But how many male scientists can you name? Immediately I think of Isaac Newton, Albert Einstein, and Neil deGrasse Tyson. I hardly have to think about it. Women's achievements are not publicized enough in media or in schools. You don't see them being interviewed as much for their big scientific advancements, or you don't see their posters in the classroom walls. If women aren't properly recognized for their work, less of them will choose to pursue that career, and the gender divide will only get bigger. In an article by the New York Times, they report on a study that was done by Cornell University, which found that when women enter fields in greater numbers than men do, the pay for that field decreases. Is women's hard work so unworthy that the entire field is paid less simply because it is becoming more female-dominated? Let's compare two similar jobs. So, for example, janitors, which are usually more male, they make 22% more than maids and house cleaners do, which are usually females. These jobs require the same set of skills and education. However, because one is more female-dominated, they make less money. This leads to my second point, which is that women are paid less than men, no matter what field you're looking at. Data analyzed by Wall Street Journal shows that among full-time workers, women generally earn 82.5% of what males make. The largest pay gap between men and women is women in legal professions, who can earn as low as 56% of what their male counterparts make. Finally, we must also take into account the gender roles, which are still very prominent in today's society. The point in your life when your career really starts to take off is also often the point in a woman's life where she is ready to start a family. While having a family and keeping up with your career is attainable, it is extremely difficult, and many women opt to care for a family instead. A survey from the LA Times reports that 83% of women in architecture believe that having a child would greatly disadvantage their career. Additionally, they found that many bosses of architectural firms presume that women, once they are married, will quit their job. And in their mind, that justifies paying them 80% of what they pay men. So to summarize, I have told you how difficult it is for women to get proper recognition in their field. I've told you statistics which show you that women are greatly underpaid in comparison to men, and that the idea that women must stay home and take care of their kids often prevents them from pursuing a lifelong career. Thank you for your attention.
All right, we got to be careful about the wording of the argument. Again, this is another one of those places where you've used the word "how" as part of your your proposition. How is a question, not a declarative, and as a consequence, it tends to make your argument sound more like it's an informative presentation. Your argument is not how this happens, that it does in fact happen, that the reason it happens is because of X. And that's the way you need to be a little bit firmer about the language that you're using for declarative. There's a There is a preview of what the supporting points are going to be, although I'm not sure that people would have realized it was a preview. I knew it was a preview because I was listening for those points. I think you could signpost those a little bit better at the beginning of the speech. In the body of the speech, you did signpost the secondary points. I thought that was pretty well. You gave the example on the first point about women scientists not being celebrated or achieved. That's mostly dependent on the hypothetical example that you ask us this particular question. I think that may be a little bit underwhelming in terms of proof. Somebody who knew in a particular field a series of specialists who happened to be women and they answered the question would undermine your argument entirely. I think the better argument would be what percentage of women see these as desirable occupations or turn away from it because they feel like they are not welcome in those particular occupations. I think that would be maybe a stronger argument on that first point. The question about being paid differently has to be carefully documented because there are laws that are being broken if that is the case, and there may be lawsuits and grounds for suing in those particular situations. But the argument that you make is that the jobs are comparable. You mentioned the example of maids and janitors having the same skill sets. I do think that there might be a difference. I don't know what those differences would be other than some of the more unpleasant ones that have to do with, what tasks janitors often get tasked with. And I'm all for paying people a lot of money whenever they have to deal with some of that stuff. Did you ever have the janitor come into your classroom when you were a kid and they had to mop up the vomit of some kid who got sick? Whoever does that, I don't care what their sex or gender is, pay them extra, because I sure as hell don't want to do that. Yes, that kind of stuff. But maybe there's something that's going on there. But I think it's a pretty good example that you're working on here. I just think you need some more examples, and you definitely need some more that are comparable that way. The data from the Wall Street Journal and the LA Times, I think, is your stronger information suggesting that there are differentials. Again, it's kind of conclusionary because we don't know what those differentials are being based on. At one point, you said women lawyers might be paid as much as 56% of what a male lawyer is making. And the reasons for that might have to do with the thing that you were talking about on the third point, is that gender roles, if they don't work as many hours, if they take time off for family rearing, that might account for it. In which case, I'm not sure it's gender inequality. It's the difference in choices that people make in their life. The second argument about that where women perceive that they are not going to get these jobs, they're not going to be treated fairly because they think the men are going to think that they're going to leave when they get married, or that they're going to get pregnant or something like that. That, I think, is a better argument and could use a little bit more documentation, but that's a pretty good argument there. All right, thank you.